All good things must come to an end. And unfortunately, Israel Adesanya, he's not the guy he used to be. And this isn't me, you know, jumping on a bandwagon or kicking a guy while he's down. I've really enjoyed Israel Adesanya's career. It's been phenomenal. But there's just some signs from the last fight. And look, he was fighting the champion, right? You're not fighting just any old guy. But there was just signs there that I'm like, you're just not the same anymore. And it doesn't mean he still can't win many fights and still be great to watch. But when a fighter loses that thing, that edge, that unbeatable feeling to them, it never comes back. We've seen it with Anderson Silva, we've seen it with Conor McGregor, we've seen it with many fighters over the years, and Izzy, it's gone. I just feel like I've just sort of given a eulogy there. Like, the guy is still a fucking great fighter and he's still had an amazing career, but the thing that's gone specifically, and I'm going to get down to it, is the level of speed he used to be capable of. The reflexes just aren't there the same way. That first round, I've never seen Izzy look that slow. And it's not like he was slow, but by his elite standards, the timing, the reflexes, fuck me, the sharpness he showed in that Paulo Costa fight. He wasn't the bullet that he used to be. And yet, even in the first round, Izzy was looking slick. His technique is still on point. But because he's not as agile and as quick as he used to be, when DDP would just bury his head and just start coming forward and charging him down, he couldn't get out the way. He was getting caught. And that ain't like elite technique from DDP, is it? It never is with DDP. The guy's hard as fucking nails. And he gets the job done one way or another. But the old Izzy we've seen against Paulo Costa 4 years ago, when he was circling out and in and out, he was just on his toes and couldn't be caught. He would have dealt with that a lot better a few years ago. He would have done. And that's not to take anything away from DDP. Like, he mixed it up so well. And while he doesn't do one particular side of MMA, you know, elite level technique, in my opinion, he does everything just really good. And because he's so mentally strong, physically strong, and just got the will of a fucking champion, he finds a way always, even if he is stiff as fuck and wooden as hell. Like, it kind of reminds me a little bit of Dan Henderson back in the day, who was similar in that he would just fucking end you, even if you looked better than him technically. It wouldn't matter. And even when they were trading on the feet in that first round, which is normally Izzy's best period of a fight, first round on the feet, this is him at his best. Dricus was landing to the head. Izzy's body shots were good, leg kicks were actually fairly comparable, despite the fact that Izzy normally, leg kick wise, is that guy. When it comes to that A to B traveling of motion from the fists of Dricus, he was just landing on Izzy, and Izzy's boxing defense was the poorest it's been. And look, to be fair, Strickland exposed this as well. There's holes in Izzy's boxing defense, and they haven't been fixed since that last fight. And at the start of the second round, Izzy came out very confidently, stood right there in the pocket, flat-footed, landing some shots, and left himself vulnerable for the takedown, and Dricus took it all the way home. Brilliant from Dricus to think on his feet in the moment. He was really reacting to the mistakes that Izzy was making and capitalizing on them. He went for the choke, he didn't get it, but that was a sign of things to come. That was the vulnerability he's seen in Izzy, and Izzy, to be fair, did well to recover, to get back to the feet. That was something that was a mark in Dricus's mind for later in the fight of, aha, there's weakness there. But when they got back to their feet, Dricus was getting picked apart a little bit in that second round for a second there. There was vulnerability in him, and Izzy was landing some really good shots to the body, and you're just thinking, go upstairs, take it to him. He's backpedaling, he looks vulnerable, and he let him off with it. And the old Izzy, he just doesn't do that. And at that point, DDP made a good technical decision of getting a hold of Izzy, grappling him against the cage, and suffocating him and just draining him of energy. And although you could argue that Izzy landed the most significant strikes in round 2, DDP recovered really well and had a good finish to that round. Round 3 was my favorite round of this fight. It was so competitive, so back and forth, and it showed, despite what I've said about Izzy, he can still mix it with the best. It's just whether or not you can beat them. But in that round, because DDP wasn't pushing him back as much, he was able to keep it in the center more, keep it in his range, and he was really picking DDP apart with loads of varied strikes. It was beautiful to watch. The body shots in particular looked really damaging, and it looked like it was wearing Dricus down, and it was looked like, you know, this could really pay dividends later on in the fight. But again, when he'd go to the head, and when they'd exchange the head, that was where Dricus had an advantage in some ways, because his power was clearly more significant than Izzy, even though when he was throwing, was it technically right? Was it? Fuck. It was off balance. He's charging in. He's doing things that you don't expect to see at championship level, but it's fucking working for this guy, because he's got the chin and the endurance to take one, to give one, and his one is hurting more. And it is that fucking simple. The fact that he can be so off balance and just jumping in and still generate that level of power is ridiculous. Round 4 actually started really well for Israel Adesanya. He comes out super confident, lands a beautiful combination, defends a takedown, DDP gets up, and Dricus is looking... He's fucking tired now, boy. And I'm thinking, wow, he's fucking growing into this, yeah. This is interesting now. And just as DDP's getting picked apart and he's looking tired, he starts charging and pushing Izzy back again. And that was what got him the success early on in the fight. And it's what won him the fight, because he lunges at Izzy towards the cage side and he pushes him back, lands one of those big looping right hands to the side of the head. Izzy sort of slips and he gets back up, points to the floor as if that was a trip. People were insinuating that he was saying, no, let's stand and fight. No, he was saying that was a trip. I didn't actually go down there. But in the midst of trying to win the mental battle, the physical battle was still very much on. And Dricus hits him with another and another. And he's fucking running away, and he's completely tuck-tailed and running. I mean, it's terrible from Izzy, technically. That moment, he gave up so much of the side of his head, and he paid the fucking price for it, because he was clearly hurt. Dricus wraps that fucking hands around him, gets him down, and starts choking him out immediately. And as we've seen earlier in the fight, the vulnerability was there, and now Dricus was ready to expose it, and it took him no time at all to sink that choke in, and the tap was there from Izzy. And now, a word from our sponsors. Now, today's sponsor is about giving you sustained energy throughout the day without that big crash. You see, Ketone IQ is a clean shot of energy without caffeine or sugar. And if you don't know what ketones are, it's an ultra-efficient fuel, especially for your brain. It's evolutionarily designed to keep us razor sharp at peak performance between meals. And you'll have heard of ketosis before, and how people often try and go on crazy diets that are very difficult to achieve a state of ketosis to help them burn fat, etc. Well, these supplements quickly deliver ketones into your bloodstream, putting you into a state of ketosis without the need to restrict your calories, cut carbs, and all of the stressful stuff. It makes life much easier. You don't have to make that noise when you drink it, just to be clear. That's just for me. When I use Ketone IQ, I've definitely felt the benefits of feeling more focused throughout the day. You know, sometimes I'm researching for long periods of time. That can be quite difficult. It really has made a noticeable difference to my attention span and to being able to stay focused. And beforehand, I was using pre-workouts and energy drinks, which obviously come with a big crash. Now, that's not happening, and I'm actually getting sustained energy throughout the day, especially during my hardest workouts. And top athletes like Sam Laidlaw, who was the Ironman world champion last year, is taking it. So you know, if he can get through all of that swimming, running, and cycling, then me and you are going to fly through our workouts. So if you want to take yourself to the next level, hit the link in the description below, and you'll get 30% off your first subscription. And you'll receive a free 6-pack of Ketone IQ when you go to ketone.com/truegeordie. So thanks to Ketone IQ for helping me perform better, but for now, enjoy the video. That was a wow moment. That was a real changing of the guard. And Izzy even admitted it afterwards, like, you've got the torch now. And luckily, they buried the hatchet with each other. And I think because they're both, you know, whatever this whole African thing is between them and this discussion, they're both African guys, right? And they both showed a lot of respect for each other. And I appreciated that. And that was good to see. They went in there, they gave it their all, and the better man won. And it's kind of hard to believe that for a lot of people, me included, because when you look at what Izzy has done in the past and the level he was at technically, and the reflexes and the speed and everything, his prime and his peak to me was more visually impressive than what I've seen from Dricus Du Plessis. But a winner is a fucking winner, and Dricus just is a winner. He's a born winner. You can see that in him. And maybe Dricus would have beaten Izzy in his prime. We will never know that, but look, right now, the better man fucking won, clearly. And it kind of had a feel of the Khabib fight, where McGregor had a good round in that third round, and it did nothing to Khabib. You know, Izzy was growing into this fight, and it made no fucking difference, because people like Khabib, people like Dricus Du Plessis, they're just built different mentally. They don't get wavered by the fact that you're having a bit of success all of a sudden. And this is the thing, I look back through Dricus's previous fights, and one fight that really, you know, kind of doesn't get the credit credit it deserved, I think, was the Darren Till effort against Dricus. Darren did very well against him. Looking back at it, one of the best. Darren had a lot of success, and he had Dricus probably in more bother than I think any fighter I've seen in the UFC had. But again, Dricus didn't get phased by it. That's championship mentality. He reminds me a bit of Kamaru Usman in a sense of how he fights, and that he's just good at everything, hard as nails, finds a way to win. That's what champions do. Like, I'm never going to look at Dricus in a fight where he's getting tired ever again and think he's about to lose. Like, I am never counting this guy out. And to be fair, I did think Strickland beat him on points, but he never had him in a position of where I felt like he was going to be going out or anything bad like that. It was just a very close fight. And I am really looking forward to the rematch for that. I just hope that both guys commit a bit more and risk a bit more so we get a definitive winner. And as for Izzy, this is another loss. It's his third loss in 4 fights. Is that an impact on his legacy at 35 years old? Absolutely it is. You know, there's been a lot of talk about Anderson Silva and Israel Adesanya, and for a period of time, they were like that in a lot of people's eyes, right? They're not anymore. And I'm sorry to say this because I do really rate Izzy. Anderson Silva held that top of that division for a long time, motherfucker. I don't think he lost the title until he was 38. You know what I mean? Maybe 39, something like that. He was older, significantly older than Izzy when he started losing fights. And I don't think a prime Anderson gets choked out the way Dricus just choked Izzy out, right? I just think Anderson is a level above Izzy, and I think the results speak for themselves. But again, Izzy is the second best middleweight of all time. Like, that's amazing. That's nothing to be ashamed of. It's just, it has impacted his legacy. And what's worrying is if he continues to fight, despite him being able to compete with Dricus at this current time, if he continues to decline in his speed and his reactions and those things keep going, something he really relies on to win fights, it would be sad to see Izzy lose more and more and more after being one of the biggest stars the sport has ever seen, actually. Like, after Conor McGregor, Izzy is right up there with some of the biggest stars we've ever had. I mean, that post-fight speech where, you know, fortify your mind, like all of that was one of the best, if not the best, UFC post-fight speech of all time. This guy has had big moments, big performances. He's been a joy to watch. But maybe he should think about retirement soon. Maybe. Like, just think about what he wants to achieve, what's left. People are suggesting maybe go up to 205. Look, he's a skinny 185er. I think 205, the ability he has to fight there is purely because of his fighting ability. He shouldn't be there. It's 185 or bust, in my opinion. Like, taking Alex Pereira shots at 205 is harder than 185. I just think he should consider retiring soon, because if he goes on this road and starts getting knocked out and just it diminishes the way people look at him, it would be sad, because he's worked really fucking hard for this legacy and he should keep it as intact as humanly possible. As for DDP, I would fucking love if he beats Strickland to see him against Alex Pereira. That is a great fight. Finally, someone has arisen from the UFC. And, you know, I know DDP isn't the biggest name and he hasn't got the most followers, but he's a true champion. And he's giving that vibe right now. He's giving someone who will defend and defend against the best of the best. He's not behaving the way John Jones is behaving right now. You get what I mean? And I can get behind that. I can enjoy a storyline like that. That's something that the UFC has struggled to do for a long time right now, in my opinion, is build people. So they should get behind Dricus, because he's a fun guy. You know, he talks some shit, he gets people reacting in the press conferences, and he's entertaining. And yeah, fair fucks. A good fucking fighter, this guy, and he is gonna be hard to dethrone. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Am I being harsh on Izzy? Is there a lot more left in the tank? Maybe I've got this wrong. I'll read the comments, see what you guys think. And as for Dricus, how long can he remain the champion? Am I overrating him? I'd love to know what you think. Hit the like button, stay subscribed to the Pain Game YouTube channel, and I'll see you on the next one.